Today we check out the 75-inch Sony Bravia 5, and if I'm honest, my expectations were not very high for this one. Wow, I was wrong. It's better than it has any right to be. Up next.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me as we check out the 75-inch Sony Bravia 5. Now the Bravia 5 is the successor to the wildly popular Sony X90 series. Now, why wasn't I very excited or very hyped about the Bravia 5? Honestly, the mini LED competition is so fierce this year, I didn't think there was a place for the Bravia 5, especially with the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9 being so good for Sony last year, and they carry over. I reviewed the 98-inch a few months ago at our good friends at Value Electronics, and I was very surprised by how good that TV was. However, sometimes it's hard to gauge the entire lineup when you only review the largest size, being either a 98 or 100 inches. So I got the Sony Bravia 5 at 75-inch for review, and I was blown away by it. So surprised not only how good it is, but how close it comes to the Sony Bravia 7. Without further ado, let's check out the 75-inch Sony Bravia 5. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. Let's go through a very quick unboxing and setup. The reasons I like featuring the unboxings are simply to show you what comes in the box, but also to show you how well the TV is protected. The Sony Bravia 5 has a two-leg stand approach with two different positions, both flush and higher up to make room for a soundbar. In the packaging, you have your manual, remote, and your batteries. Now, when you look at the legs, you will see that they have little brackets with screws already into them. That is to either raise or lower the TV. I'm gonna have it in the higher position. You're gonna see the Bravia 5 here with the Theater Bar 9 and how the soundbar fits just over the flat feet that are on the legs, but perfectly lines up with the TV. That works on any size Sony in regards to its height. And that's how I'll be featuring the Bravia 5 with that higher stand, as I do have a Bravia 7 here that I will be comparing, and it's set up the same way. Showing you the 75-inch Bravia 5, Sony is one of the best out there in packaging their larger TVs. You can see this very hard cardboard that lines in with the styrofoam. Nothing moves. It is packaged very well. The screen is also very well protected. They are not fun to put back in the box, but they are extremely well protected, as you can see here. Also, the reason I like featuring these unboxings is to show you the care on how things are packaged. These things do cost money, and I'm always curious when a more value or mid-range TV is shipped, how it ships. And the Sony, as I mentioned, is very well protected, packaging everywhere. Let's look at the back of the Sony Bravia 5 and its HDMI inputs and other connections. You have 4 HDMI, 2 are HDMI 2.1, capable of 4K 120. You do also have that S center speaker in port that works with the sound bars and or theater quad. There it is. One leg in, other leg clicks in, that's it, and you're done. Now the Bravia 5 will ship with the flush design. The legs will be in that position, and unlike the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9, there is only the narrow stance, which is totally okay. The Bravia 7 and Bravia 9 both have a wide stance and a narrow. Narrow is the most desired as it can fit on almost every table and does almost feel like a center stand. Even on this high position, which I have for the soundbar and my comparison to the Bravia 7, the TV is very sturdy. What I also like to point out is the design. The Bravia 5 is so much better than what the X90 series used to be. The X90 series got better each and every year, but the Bravia 5 now feels more similar to the higher end Bravia 7 and Bravia 9. It has very small black bezels. You can see me removing all the plastic and cardboard protecting the screen, but I love the premium feel and design for a TV that's in the beginner to higher end for Sony in their mini LED lineup. Again, sitting below the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9. And there it is. It does have a semi-gloss screen, and it does perform well in an extremely bright room like we are here. You do have the Google operating system. That setup is very straightforward and intuitive and does work very well. Let's get right into the picture quality and, more importantly, how the TV performs in a very bright room. And there it is, the Sony Bravia 5 at 75 inches, and I was actually very surprised by its image quality and its clarity. The TV is beautiful right out of the box. It does ship in the standard preset. The ambient optimization mode is enabled. I'll show you that a little bit later, as it is a very cool feature, but you can watch the TV just like this. Sony has one of the best processors in the business, the XR cognitive processor, which is available on the Bravia 5, Bravia 7, Bravia 9, as well as the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II. Now, why that's important is you're getting the top of the line processing from Sony at every tier, starting with the Bravia 5. And that's all about clarity, upscaling for just about every kind of content that you're going to watch. But that clarity, that detail, that fine detail and color is what the XR cognitive processor is all about. I just did not expect it to hit so hard with the Bravia 5. Let's move into my studio, which is where we're really going to sit with the Bravia 5 for the rest of the video. Now, you saw that it did well in a very bright room. That semi-gloss panel works excellent, but again, it's the pop in the clarity. I was very surprised by how bright the Sony Bravia 5 was. Now, I did review the 98-inch, but thought that perhaps just the size was giving me that impression. The Sony Bravia 5 is very bright. I know this because I've had it side by side with other mini LEDs that are higher spec, and the Bravia 5, it does seem brighter. In a lot of those comparisons, you'll see more of those coming up, as well as a comparison to the higher end Sony Bravia 7 at the end of this video, and I'll do a totally separate video on that. Let me quickly show you some of the presets, but also show you the ambient light sensor that I mentioned earlier in the video. We're here in the professional preset. We'll go back to the standard preset, which is what the Bravia 5 ships in. As you move down to this ambient optimization feature, it will ship with this feature on. Now, this is not an eco setting. It's more of a room calibration setting. We'll talk about that momentarily. Let's quickly look at the picture presets. You have the standard preset, the vivid preset, both very poppy and vibrant and different enough from each other. Going back and forth between vivid and standard. Then we're going to move into cinema and the professional preset. The professional preset is basically Sony's filmmaker and most accurate mode. It took the place of the custom preset from a few years ago. I love about Sony's presets is that they are similar enough but different enough while all being rather accurate. Now, we'll remain in our professional preset for a lot of this video. That's how good that preset looks. And for me, the presets are very important. They are the signature of the manufacturer. So you should go through them and see which one you like best. Don't let anyone tell you one is better than the other. It's your TV. You pick how you want to watch it and then just enjoy. That said, Sony is a set it and forget it kind of TV manufacturer. As you see the HDR impact in this shot showing how bright the Bravia 5 is. You can literally put it in the preset that it ships in, standard, cinema, and professional and just leave it and never have to reach for the remote again. That's how I am with my own Sony TVs. I can't say that about any other manufacturer at all. It is a set it, forget, and enjoy type of TV. The Bravia 5 comes in a 55, 65, 75, 85, and a 98 inch. I wish all of Sony's lineups came in that many different sizes. But again, where this TV is in the lineup is why the image quality is so shocking to me. Again, my expectations weren't super high as I've experienced the other parts of the lineup, the Bravia 7 and Bravia 9, but the more time I spent with the Bravia 5, the more I smiled about it, the more I enjoyed it, and enjoyed it in every type of content out there, including gaming, which I'll show you later. But it's the HDR impact and the brightness that really surprised me. And as I mentioned also, the local dimming, that was always the weakness of the X90 series, as it never had a lot of zones. It was a full array local dimming TV, but it's Sony's algorithm and how they make those dimming zones work that always made the X90 work. But now having the Bravia 5 be mini LED again makes all the difference. As we move into our local dimming testing, this is where I was really most surprised. Now moving into our local dimming drip from our good friend Jennifer Gala, this is a punishing test. What Sony does better than almost anyone else is allowing the specular highlights to be bright, not dimming the TV to compensate for any kind of blooming. Blooming is minimal and the image remains very bright. Moving off angle is where you will see a bit of haloing. You have to be pretty off angle. See a little bit of a purple haze right there. That is not bad for this caliber of TV. I was shocked at how good the local dimming was. Dead center, the Bravia 5 is very impressive. And again, you have to get way off angle to see any blooming. What also Sony is known for is shadow detail. They much rather allow a little bit of blooming as we look at the black bars. And they are very black, a little bit of haloing there at the bottom. They're all about shadow detail and keeping the director's intent intact instead of crushing out the detail. That is, again, part of Sony's signature. Sony is known for being a cinematic TV. However, the Bravia 5 can be used for any type of content. Speaking of content, a very special thanks to the one and only Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HDR Super Channel. She is responsible for the majority of content seen within this video and intro. Please check the description below for links to both channels and consider becoming a Patreon member to her main channel and enjoy all of this amazing content on your new TV. Thank you so much, Jen. Now, in regards to the Bravia 5, what complaints would I have? It actually does feel very close to the Sony Bravia 7, but not that close in price. The problem that Sony is going to have with the Bravia 5 is where it fits in against the competition. TVs that are at the same level from other manufacturers, mini LEDs, are significantly cheaper, though I'll say the Bravia 5 is actually priced very well. The Bravia 5 is also going to carry over, much like the X90L, it will be here for a few years, so obsolescence isn't really the fear where other models do change out every year. But it is a bit more expensive than the competition, so therefore people compare it to the more expensive TVs in competitors' lineups. So other than the price, it is excellent for where it is in the lineup. So price-wise, it would measure up to perhaps other more value-based manufacturers' flagship, where it really should be compared to their entry level. In that comparison, the Bravia 5 is excellent. Though, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the prices are actually very reasonable for even the 98-inch. But what the competitors don't have is the XR cognitive processor, which is giving you the three-dimensionality you're seeing on the screen right now. Let's move into SDR. Now, the SDR brightness of the Bravia 5 is excellent in every preset but one, and we will talk about that in a moment, as I think this is something that Sony can fix rather easily. The Bravia 5 and the Bravia 8 Mark II were beaten up badly in reviews for poor SDR brightness. However, that is in only one preset, and I do believe that's actually a mistake, and I'll show you right now. Now, if you see me go through the presets, you'll see the brightness value to the right there, 35, standard will be 35, vivid will be max. When you get down to professional, which is their most accurate preset, it drops to 3. The TV's been completely reset. I do believe this is a mistake. That brightness is not locked. If you move that up, if you have the TV to 20 or even 35, it will look amazing. There's no reason the professional preset is not as bright as the calm preset. I do think this is a mistake and something that I will talk to Sony about, and that can be remedied very easily as that brightness is not locked. You can easily move it up. So SDR brightness, excellent, other than that preset, which I'm sure they'll figure out. Let's move into Dolby Vision. We're going to use Godzilla -1 on Netflix. You do have 3 presets for Dolby Vision Dark, Dolby Vision Bright, and Dolby Vision Vivid. Dolby Vision Vivid is usable if you warm it up, but Dolby Vision Bright is the sweet spot. Streaming Dolby Vision is very dark in general, so I would recommend Dolby Vision Bright over Dolby Vision Dark. Sony does have a Netflix calibrated mode that you can use for Netflix, but you have to use the app from the TV, and the results are actually excellent. Sony also has an Amazon Prime genre selection when you use the Prime app on the TV. That works great as well. Here we are at Fellowship of the Ring on 4K Blu-ray, and shadow quality is the order of the day. Dolby Vision Dark looks great on Blu-ray disc, not streaming, and the results are fantastic. Because it's Halloween, let's go into The Shining, also 4K Blu-ray, and you can see Dolby Vision Dark looks excellent. And this is a very old film, as we all know, but it is Halloween, so I wanted to feature it. But this is where Sony's upscaling. Even though this is a very good transfer, you can put it in Dolby Vision Vivid, and on 4K Blu-ray, it still looks fantastic. I wouldn't watch it that way, but Dolby Vision Dark looks great on disc. Let's move into Salem's Lot. Back into streaming a very old film, one of my favorite books. There's our Professional 3 again. We will get that sorted out. This is SDR. This is not HD either. So it's all about the up conversion and the upscaling. And I think it looks very good. Excellent movie, but I was shocked to see how good the Bravia 5 did with this older film. It is Halloween, so I wanted to feature a couple horror movies, and now we'll go into the legendary upscaling legend of the channel, Columbo. And Sony does it again, best upscaling in the business. Columbo looks great. And to me, that's where Sony is definitely worth the extra money, is in that processing, as everything that you're going to watch is going to look fantastic, not just the highest 4K, HDR, or Dolby Vision. Let's move into gaming. This would cover both console and PC. We'll be gaming on the PS5 Pro. We'll bring up the game bar. Sony has 3 picture presets: standard, FPS, and RTS. Now the FPS mode will look very washed out, as it's designed to give you more brightness, but it does wash it out quite a bit in order to really use it. Knock black equalizer down to off or low, and you'll still have a very bright image, which is brighter than the other presets. Sony has a gorgeous game mode, always had one of the best looking game modes in the business, and you're lucky that it does, as for me, its biggest weakness is that the Sony picture preset for gaming is not very flexible. It really is what it is. You can't change it much. Even the tone mapping from gradation, brightness preferred, and off looks very similar. So luckily it is a very good looking image, and the local dimming is very effective. You can see the different crosshair features there. It does have some unique YouTube split screen modes a lot of other manufacturers don't have, but otherwise in terms of its image quality, it is a beautiful game mode. I just wish there was more flexibility of image. Sony is also limited to only 2 HDMI 2.1 inputs. They are capped at 4K 120. A lot of other manufacturers have moved on to 144 or 165. But Sony doesn't really want to be the best gaming TV on the planet. They are a cinematic experience, and they are definitely a good gaming cinematic experience as well. Not to say you obviously can't game with multiplayer on Sony TVs. They are excellent all-around gaming TVs. It's just TVs at a lower cost. Their competitors do have more gaming functions and a higher refresh rate. But for gaming, the game mode is absolutely gorgeous. You can see it here, as well as the local dimming in car. No blooming at all. Now, one thing I did notice is that one feature was grayed out in the menu, but I'm waiting for Sony to confirm it. That reality creation was grayed out, so I will follow up on that and let you know very soon. Otherwise, I do like it for gaming. We're going to move into SDR gaming to make sure that that brightness is okay. And since there isn't a professional mode while we're in game mode, the brightness is absolutely beautiful. TV looks great. Now let's leave gaming and compare the Sony Bravia 5, which you're going to see here on the right, compared to the higher end Sony Bravia 7 on the left. Now the Sony Bravia 7 is brighter, though it doesn't look like that in these shots. These demos are capped at 1000 nits, but the Sony Bravia 7 does have a higher color volume. It does have a different tri-luminous color profile, but the Bravia 5 looks fantastic. It actually does look rich, and it does look brighter in some of these shots due to the more aggressive local dimming on the Bravia 7. Specular highlights are better on the Bravia 7, and here you'll see the difference in this shot or in these next few shots. This is where the Bravia 7 will pull away a little bit with more color and more depth. But look at the Bravia 5, how close it actually gets, even in terms of brightness. This is where the superior tone mapping of the Bravia 7 also shows up in how it resolves the sun. There's more detail on the sun, though they are in the same preset, but still shockingly close. In closing, I was very happy with the Sony Bravia 5, and I was glad that I was wrong. Now keep in mind, when I compare any TV or even mini LEDs, I don't compare them to OLEDs. I compare them to themselves. Then I compare them to the competition. And in that regard, the Bravia 5 is excellent, even against, as you saw, the step up Bravia 7. For me, the Sony Bravia 5 is my pleasant surprise of the TV year for 2025. Again, my expectations were not high, and I was very surprised and very pleased. It is very easy to recommend. Its biggest weakness, other than some of the gaming features you'll see on the competition in regards to mini LEDs, is the price, as the price is high compared to the more value-based competition. And where the Bravia 5 is in the lineup is its mid or entry to mid under the 7 and the Bravia 9. That's confusing for many people when they price shop or price compare. Also, the Bravia 5 is Sony's last TV released in 2025, where the X90 series was always the first TV going back to the 900H. That tier was always the first TV released. So it's releasing late in the year, and it's a bit more expensive than the competition. But as I mentioned also earlier, you don't have to worry about obsolescence with Sony. The Bravia 5 will be around and carried over for at least a couple years, much like the X90 series. And that continuing models for a few years has been Sony's plan for the last number of years and seems to be their plan going forward. So the Bravia 5 is an easy recommend for me. It is an excellent mid to high-end mini LED with top-of-the-line image processing. Now, while I didn't touch on the sound is definitely good enough for TV audio. I am a big fan of the design and the two positions of the stand. Overall, absolutely love the Sony Bravia 5. Again, my pleasant surprise of the TV year. I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys.